The story of Bruno Fernandes de Souza, the former Flamengo goalkeeper, is well known in Brazil. The man once tipped to be between the sticks on home soil for Brazil at the 2014 World Cup, and the darling of the biggest fan base in the country, has since swapped the pitch for prison. He was convicted of murdering his former lover and mother of his son Bruninho, and sentenced to a 22-year jail sentence for his part in her disappearance and death. The body of Elisa Samudio has never been found. Now, following 2 failed attempts, the former number 1 is making another try at a career in the game. The issue has generated fierce debate in Brazil. Should someone convicted of a crime of such brutality be allowed to walk back into a position which could see them becoming an idol to young children across the country? Bruno's name used to ring around the terraces of the Maracana, for the biggest club in the most iconic stadium in the country. Alongside Adriano, the former Inter Milan and Brazil striker, he was an integral part of the 2009 Brazilian League title win, which catapulted him to prominence and prompted familiar questions. When would he play for the national side, and which major European team would sign him? He wasn't just the goalkeeper, he was the captain, the idol, and the hero. But a short-lived romance with model Elisa Samudio ultimately derailed a promising career. And for Samudio, it would be fatal. For she fell pregnant during their brief affair, much to the anger of the footballer, who had 2 young daughters with his then-wife Diane. Alongside best friend Maracao in October 2009, Bruno assaulted his former lover, taking her back to his apartment where she was forced to take abortion pills and what Samudio later described as a bitter liquid. The attempt at a forced abortion failed, and Bruno's 3rd child was born in early 2010. Elisa's efforts to force Bruno to recognise the paternity and assume his financial responsibilities set an evil plan in motion. In late May 2010, while the Brazilian league was on hiatus for that year's World Cup in South Africa, Bruno had Samudio taken to his farm in the city of Esmeraldas, Minas Gerais, along with her 4-month-old son Bruninho. She would stay there until the 4th of June. On that evening, Elisa was driven by Maracao to Rua Arauama in the Belo Horizonte neighbourhood of Santa Clara, supposedly to a flat that she was to be given by the goalkeeper. But once there, she was tied up and strangled by professional hitman Marcos Aparecido dos Santos, known as Bola. In 2013, the athlete was convicted for his part in the death of his son's mother. Yet in 2020, just 7 years later, a concrete offer is on the table for the stopper to resume his football career. Bruno has been serving a semi-open home program since July 2019, which grants him the right to work during the day, but at night he must be at his registered residence by 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. In addition, he is to make a monthly court appearance to justify his activities. Operário de Várzea Grande ply their trade in the first division of the Mato Grosso State Championship. The city of Várzea Grande is the 2nd biggest in the state, and the club, founded in 1949, has won 12 regional titles throughout its history. Over recent years, though, the side has been losing ground to rising outfits Cuiabá and Luverdense. The signing of Bruno is seen as a way to help the club return to the top of their state football pyramid. But unlike his salary at Flamengo, which was counted in the hundreds of thousands of reais per month, the player is expected to be earning between 4 and 6,000, typical of a club in the 4th tier. Now, at least 2 other sides showed interest in signing Bruno: Tupi from the state of Minas Gerais and Fluminense de Feira in Bahia. Like Operário, it was hoped that the acquisition of Bruno would bring the club much-needed publicity. Now, the athlete has made 2 previous attempts to return to football. In 2017, and with Boa Esporte, images of Bruno signing autographs for young children and fans caused a revolt among the club's support. Brazil, it turned out, was not ready to forget his role in the death of a young woman quite so quickly. Now, from a legal perspective, Bruno is entitled to return to work. The granting of that semi-open prison domestic regime is aimed at social reintegration, with the player deemed to have served a necessary amount of time in a closed regime. The change grants Bruno the right both to procure a full-time job and reside at home with his second wife and youngest child, the idea being to give the offender the best possible chance at rehabilitation. As Bruno has always worked as a footballer, he's been given dispensation to pursue this path within the parameters established by the Minas Gerais Supreme Court. For him to return between the posts, his new club will need to present to the court a contract as well as their travel schedule for the upcoming season. There is also no precedent in the Brazilian Code of Sporting Justice for banning a player due to a previous criminal conviction, but there is quite obviously a moral perspective at play. His crime was heinous, and is he really a suitable model for children? At Boa Esporte, he played just 5 times before the Supreme Federal Court ordered him back to prison. His second foray was even shorter. In October 2019, he lasted just 48 minutes with Poços de Caldas. The club does not participate in official tournaments and as such could not present to the court a suitable work schedule for the player. And now Bruno is making a third attempt to return to the life that helped make his name, that turned him into the finest goalkeeper in Brazil's domestic league a decade ago.